Over the approximately 4 years I've been making these scripted and edited game reviews, me and my playing the victim look and have come to realize long video games can be rather problematic when it comes to my non-existent upload schedule. Between my lingering physical and mental woes I have no answers to, time constraints due to friends, family, work and whatnot, and feeling burned out of the same formula if I play a game every single day or more than 2 hours a session, there's a lot in the way of being in a creative headspace to write and edit, or play a game at all. Thus, making a long-ass 60-hour game take 30 days to beat at best, while writing a long-ass script on a long-ass game containing a long-ass list of mechanics, after which I added a long-ass video with a long-ass script on a long-ass game, resulting in a painfully long radio silence that is already way too long as is. This dude can't even upload a video on a 16-hour game in 6 weeks! What an amateur! About 21 months ago, I made a promise to tackle the long Trails games one by one. And the fucking shit show I just described is exactly why I haven't yet. Though, as you're watching this, I should have finally started my Trails in the Sky campaign. Because you see, dealing with a situation for long enough will eventually push you towards finding a solution and/or adapt. And thus, I did. There was no way I was going to miss out on 60 to 100 hours cool-ass RPGs. I just needed the room to spread it like a PB&J sandwich. Which is how I came to know and love the beauty of the short game. Quick to complete, easy to summarize, granting me room to play longer games at my own pace. But above all, just as fun and memorable as their lengthy counterparts. Wonderful walking simulators like Genesis Noir and Journey, adorable RPGs like Grimm's Hollow and Honolulu Saves Christmas, hell, even dank-ass horror adventures like Omori and the Chozo Mythos games. Not the last one though. What the hell was that? These shorter games are criminally underappreciated, and that's what I'm here for today. I'm thankful for these games for giving me joyous but divergent adventures that never overstay their welcome, but maybe even more so, for giving me the ability to produce. Produce? Deuce? 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 Producer 2021 is a graphic adventure novella by the wonderful indie dev Stuffed Wombat, with my fellow countryman and YouTube guy, Thorington High Heels, composing its 25 plus track OST. Which is how I found this game in the first place, as I'm a huge Mr. High Heels fanboy. But oh, am I glad I am, cause this game fucking rocks. So you play as Toto, some bum-ass loser without any friends or social skills, that lives in a dirty-ass house swarmed by flies and surrounded by a pile of shit. Literally. You are then woken up by a phone call, on a phone you didn't buy. The voice on the other side of the line telling you your job application for the producer function you never sent has been accepted. You're uncertain what it even means to be a producer, but who fucking cares, as long as you can leave this hellhole of a house to never return again. Upon meeting your dick fuck of a boss, you then learn you're now tasked with nothing less than disrupting the end of the world as we all know it, by finding and acquiring free prototypes from some biochemist, a mechanic, and a threesome of dataists. And this is where the most absurd, dialogue-driven piece of poetry comes to fruition. This is probably the closest thing to a fever dream I have ever played. Shit's weird, but in the best way imaginable. Controlled by just enter and the up and down arrows, you make your way through a world that's on the brink of collapse, and seemingly has lost all common sense along with it. With a control scheme like this, it goes without saying, the game conveys itself by text box. A lot of them, actually. But that's all it really needs. Its writing is clever, witty, and easily on par with the extensive amount of detail and immersion of a book. Its dialogue is an interactive playground, allowing you to investigate, observe, and make choices to solve problems at your own pace and in whatever order you desire. And its content is about as smile-inducing as it made me scream, "What the fuck?" at its tripping on LSD type ideas, leaving you with much more than approaching one of the three freelancers like, "Aye bitch, where's my prototype?" No. You enter an area, observe your surroundings, what it feels, smells, and looks like. Interact with graphs, notes, drawings, herbs, flowers, and mushrooms, figuring out an apple tree is actually an orange tree. But it's not even an orange tree either. Until you find yourself wearing a goofy ass claw helmet, thinking about thoughts that could be thought of while thinking about thoughts about thinking about thoughts about Think 69ing. Nice. Then Toto gets back in his car, closes his eyes, and just sits there for a while, processing his thoughts and feelings about people, about the state of the world, about himself. Shit's a multi-layered text box onion, slowly getting peeled, text box by text box. It's a game that will make you visualize everyone and everything down to the tiniest of details. You're able to look at and observe the most arbitrary shit like flowing water, the horizon, or a pair of shoes. The interactions with the game's characters are about their ideas, plans, how they feel about people, with all of them branching out into dozens of options to pick from and talk about. Doing all of this will then result in even more available options, as Toto's observations will lead to new discoveries to once again observe. Characters' answers to your questions leading to even more questions, and observing and interacting for long enough, eventually even getting the game to present you new areas to once again visualize. Or some weird shit you really didn't want to miss out on, gradually filling up the game's weird meter, of which I'm still uncertain what its purpose is, other than showing Toto's road to absolute insanity.
Can you hear it? You can't, of course. Around you, all around, growing through the dead rock that you call Earth. Invisible tendrils, thin and ghost white. Their secretions eat away at it all, breaking it down, liquefying it. Syrup slurped up and digested, broken down into enzymes, integrated and reassembled as part of the whole.
What? The game also won't hesitate to clap back at you, repeatedly reminding you you're being a burglar piece of garbage while sniffing through the biochemist's boat, because she's out visiting Bunglord? Or something as simple and stupid as calling you a pussy for attempting to wimp out of speaking to your boss, adding a good chunk of comical value to pressing as many options available, which was already rewarding in and of itself, as repeatedly slamming down on the same option is counterintuitively encouraged, resulting in i.e. Toto finding a small spelling mistake in the producer contract, after having read it a dozen times already, pissing off his asshole boss as a bonus. The game and its characters will express their annoyance and tell you to stop pressing the same thing over and over, making it all the more enticing to keep doing just that. But where Producer 2021 truly earns its Goat of the Year nomination is the far exceeding 2 hours of depth, and the vibes as fuck aesthetic it all takes place in. The game's made out of crusty, duct taped together pixels, played in an off-centered window alongside its text logs that I have zoomed in a bit for the sake of mobile visibility. Combine that with the highest of heels tonally and thematically pleasing tunes that haven't left the video up until this point, because they're that good, and you got yourselves a nostalgia but it's 2022 type of game that I have become way too invested in and have beaten 5 times at this point in time. The world is overshadowed by an apocalyptic red sky. You got the factories with its dark and depressing color schemes, its atmosphere reeking of lost hope and impending doom, with its only presence being the emo mechanic that's about as energetic as a dead body. All of it being colored in and patched together by sinister and malicious tunes. There's the Brighter Than My Future Data is research lab, with its projectors and papers, futuristic and ominous beat boop tunes, and goofy ass dataists that taught me the core values of life. And there's the forest. Magical. Mysterious. Green. What is it hiding? How is it relevant? Questions you then take with you to think about in your clunky ass car, while blasting some poetry as ambled.
Smell the air, I have gone. Smell the air, but that gone. He used to be there, able, I, that are now, miss, that, but that I go outside, that,
Yeah,
but
this
that,
is
smell
about
the
what I
air,
expected.
Gone, please, but
The beautiful, crusty, pixelated environment and characters, the clever, witty, it's deep but it's not that deep dialogue, and a soundtrack that couldn't have been more fitting, just makes you want to play through it more than once. And luckily the game provides you a reason to do so, as it won't reveal all of its cards during a singular playthrough. Visiting the mechanic and collecting his prototype will result in additional dialogue options for the biochemist. Advancing the story will spawn new options at seemingly completed areas, like suddenly being able to look at and think about the horizon in the waiting room, or finding yourself bribing a fat old fish with money and dead rats in the canals out of nowhere. You will forever shut off any further contact with the mechanic by repeatedly bugging him about his handicap, like a true unsympathetic asshole. Everything seems to affect everything. Or so it seems. From locking yourself out of being able to craft a dagger to straight up missing one of the endings, resulting in having to play through the game more than once because of video and audio issues, not actually angering me for once, because the secrets underneath the surface piqued my curiosity anyway. I was more than happy to rewind. This is the Rewinder. A point-and-click puzzle adventure game inspired by Chinese mythology and folklore, using pixel art to mimic the aesthetics of Chinese ink paintings. A long time ago, a war of a word I can't pronounce but still wanted to use took place, with devastating consequences. Peace never returned to the world. Lives continued to perish and resentful spirits and monsters terrorized all that was left. Thus, the Four Keepers had to intervene to restore the world's balance. They built shrines that were able to rewind time and granted a group of trustworthy beings the ability to do so. Whenever an evil force emerged to disrupt the world's balance, the Rewinders would rewind time and restore order by altering the past to protect the future. Centuries have passed, evil has subsided, and the group of Rewinders has pretty much evaporated. You get to play as Avatar Yun, the last Timebender. Yun and his immortal partner Light have been summoned to investigate the curious case of Reed River Village, where the souls of its inhabitants are unable to make their way to the underworld. It's now up to Yun to find out what happened to this village and use the power of Rewind to fix it if possible. So you embark on a fun little puzzle adventure through a shadow of what was once a thriving village. There's a grim and sad atmosphere, abandoned houses, the collapsed main bridge, and spirits that need to be dealt with, all carefully crafted in an aesthetically pleasing pixel art style that allows the world to look detailed yet ink painting-y. The broken walls, pots and pans, the dead trees, plants and shadows looming in the foreign background, the black crows hanging around to embrace the atmosphere of death. Shit made me feel exactly as intended. In order to help the souls of the remaining spirits in the village make their way to the underworld, you must obtain a memory item to insert in the Holy Rewind Cave to be able to relive and alter an important moment in their lives. These memory items are hidden behind a pretty basic point-and-click adventure puzzle design. Information is gathered by clicking on anything clickable. There's an inventory at the top to store and use items, and there's a logbook with a design that's about as organized as it is really cool. I love this thing. So you read and learn about villager notes, tree stumps, a frog with a hat, and talk to some unsympathetic asshole spirit. But the absolute focal point of the overworld are the game's puzzles. Sure, reading about old broken bowls is fascinating, but the key to progressing the story is found behind them. I'm a sucker for puzzle-based games that require you to breathe and think step by step, without ever becoming outright infuriating. And the Rewinder achieves just that. Each and every single one of them truly reaches that middle ground of being fun, challenging, doable, and making me feel like a dumbass every single time. By using simple math, word and pattern mechanics that require logic, and considering all options, the puzzles will make the cogwheels in anyone's brain turn, while never becoming too frustrating to push the less proficient problem solvers away. And if worst comes to worst, you can always ask your buddy Light to explain how the puzzle is supposed to work, without giving away too much of the answer and basically spoon-feeding you what you need to do. And all of that comes to fruition in a puzzle like this. You're presented with an abacus, random prizes for random tasks and objects, the exemplary abacus displaying 723. The hell am I supposed to do with this? Oh, but there's a page that's incomplete. That has to be the solution to this mystery, right? A little later on, I ended up finding the missing part of the page. 85 coins. Damn it! When I finally figured it out, it truly was one of those moments that will make you question your IQ like only clever puzzle bullshit can achieve. Even simple puzzles like translating a weight's weight or mixing paint to mimic a mask had me second guessing my own thoughts. Hell, even the Cave of Rewind will make you work with some Michael Jackson rewind memory statue order or trial and erroring the order of the snares before opening up the all-important rewind portal. And then you enter the memories of the past. A moment so important that altering its course will make the spirit it's attached to be able to head to the underworld. A moment where the village was still thriving. A much brighter color scheme, a happier atmosphere, houses that don't look like asbestos hazards, and an actual population going on about their day. These memories are a great way to build the characters by visually showing you why Willow is an emo Pipa player ghost and why this lovely little lady tried to kill you. It's really cool to see the roles these characters play in each other's memories, how they interact with one another. Their interrelationships, if you will. The game does a fantastic job of displaying life in Reed River Village. Walking around in these pivotal moments in their lives truly made me care about whatever happened to them. Now it's up to Yon the Invisible to steer these events towards the good ending, to banish the spirits in the future. You observe the situation, the surroundings, the thoughts and feelings of the people involved, until the game tells you it's your time to shine. In order to alter the future, there are people to be influenced and senses to subtract to influence the influenceable, swaying their thoughts to a different decision. Do I cut down the tree? Do I enter the house? Do I anger this guy with unwanted posters? Simple, yet future-altering decisions. Senses can be obtained by looking around or subtracted from a set of thoughts of other characters present in the memory. These go as far as the clueless dog that cares more about its food than its future. And the little guy ends up being really important too. Altering the future then comes down to trial and error. Yon's energy is limited and every character has a few bullshit thoughts that will just waste an energy disc, I guess? And not every sense is meant to be used either, meaning you'll run out of energy, fail to collect the needed sense, or even worse, leave the timeline unchanged by using a thought confirming rather than swaying sense, or straight up influencing the wrong person. I sent this kid into the evil possessed lady like 4 times, before understanding the multi-influence idea. Luckily, the game doesn't feel the need to punish you for being an absolute idiot, as it allows you to rewind to checkpoints, pause the memory to look around and think, and fast forward at any given time, making sitting through the memory up until the point of failure take a minute at worst. Shit's genuinely as player friendly as can be, preventing failure from ever becoming close to frustrating. Then, when you eventually do change the timeline, the present will feel its effects. Not only is the spirit the memory was attached to banished, but the village will take on a new form upon Jan's return to the present each and every time. From a winter wonderland, to a rainy village oozing sadness, or nothing but a burning hellhole. Seeing the village undergo a transformation adds a hell of a lot to this game, as it doesn't just show the sheer impact of making a dude decide to cut a tree 7 years ago, but also makes you look at and investigate the same house over and over, due to its physical and visual changes. It makes the same village feel new continuously, and that's just really cool to me. Which applies to the whole game, really. The Rewinder is a fascinating puzzle adventure game. Its aesthetic is beautiful. Altering timelines and their effects on the present are satisfactory and immersive. And even with a handful of translation issues, the story's hella interesting. What starts as saving a village unexpectedly turns into a story of deception, sadness and sacrifices hour 3 onwards, which made me leave its mark on me even more than it already did. The ending purposely only partly concludes the story, because the game wants to encourage you to use its Karma Stone chapter select function, allowing you to hunt for achievements, miss memories and tie up the playthrough's loose ends. Which I happily did. It truly is a function I wish more games provided, as I usually find it too much of a chore to 100% anything. But above all, the game's puzzle nature made this game's experience as fun as it is. Figuring out how to solve a Sudoku, how to only use each line once to craft a figure, or figuring out who to influence with what sense never got old from start to finish due to clever design and a wide variety. It truly made me feel like a problem solver. It truly made me feel like a real detective. In a cold and grim world full of evildoers, senseless violence has claimed yet more victims. For the safety of everyone, action has to be taken. This cannot go on any longer. Thankfully, there happens to be one brave soul to take on this impossible task. Detective Gallo. Except the world really isn't all that bad. The victims are a billionaire's houseplants, and Detective Gallo is an overweight, cynical rooster that isn't even a real detective.
I have more questions now than when I started my investigation. It's the first time that this has happened to me in a paid investigation. Because this is my first paid investigation.
Detective Gallo takes everything that characterizes the beautiful noir genre of video games and parodies the shit out of it, in the bestest of ways imaginable. After a night out downing cocktails, Gallo finds himself kicked out of the club. Knowing he can't go back in, he makes his way to his office, the only place he can find solace. As he unlocks his office's door, he soon realizes this won't be the case this time around, as he's met with the desperate pair of eyes belonging to rich-ass billionaire Phil Cloro. Phil has fallen victim to a multiple planned murder, and he's now turned to Gallo to crack the case. Being the hero that he is, Gallo will take on any challenge, and more so the generous advance of his client to figure out who's beyond this world-altering tragedy, in a point-and-click puzzle fashion that reminds me of the Pajama Sam and Spy Fox days. What I mean by this is that the game's focus is on building character in every possible way of doing so. And goddamn, if that doesn't give this game a whole lot of charm. From the very first moment you get to witness this rude and cynical rooster that's fed up with the world and its inhabitants, be a rude and cynical asshole to just about everybody, but his beloved pet cactus that never leaves his side, busting out cynical remarks left and right alongside a plethora of nonsensical rules of the Holy Gallo Book of Truth.
Rule number 37 of Gallo. In my life, there are too many doors, and they're almost always closed.
Narrating his each and every step in the dumbest investigation of all time in a pure noir parody fashion, Gallo then step by step solves the mystery of the least important murder of all time, by visiting and interacting with these gorgeous old school in a new jacket type of areas, characters, objects, menus, and anything you can think of, that are all hand-drawn and hand-animated, frame by frame. Alongside an excellent usage of colors, lights and shadows to give me that authentic yet new and improved, nostalgic Spy Fox feeling. Which applies to the game as a whole really, as it's nothing but a classic point-and-click adventure. Meaning it doesn't really do anything new or innovative, meaning the gameplay consists of nothing but talking to people and clicking on clickables to talk to people and click on clickables. Left click to interact, right click to inspect, an inventory bar at the top and the aid of the spacebar to highlight any interactive element. Anyone slightly familiar with point and click type of games will not be particularly blown away by any of this, nor will they be by the idea of playing detective in an adventure game, a common theme that suits the genre like a glove. As the game's comedically weird plot might hint at, however, it takes this theme and soaks it in bizarre ideas, conversations, areas and puzzles to provide a unique and entertaining experience. In a search for the culprit, Gallo wanders through his neighborhood to obtain relevant clues, and does so in the most outlandish of manners. So you i.e. want the local shopkeeper to speak his truth about the involvement in the murder. Through a casual conversation with said shopkeeper and calling you're obviously doing a scuffed version of the incognito voice informant,
"Hi Gallo, how's it going?"
you figure out you can feed him a truth serum through a cocktail consisting of a rare leaf and the sweetest of sweets, thrown into a glass of sexy fuel. I'm pretty sure that's considered a crime. After which the both of you pass out and are warped to the magical cocktail land, where the shopkeeper is willing to speak up after having the condition met of Gallo killing one of a newborn rooster.
Yippee! You found me!
Literal Socrates.
I am Socrates, but to know why I am in your head, you must know yourself.
Or his own ego.
Are you my conscience or something like that? You have no conscience. I am you.
Make it make sense. Every character is fully voiced, and voiced excellently at that, building bizarre yet lovable characters brick by brick, every single time the plat lands on them. I fucking love these goofy ass personas. The candy seller with the unhealthiest Gallo obsession, the wannabe criminal baby thug sucking on a pacifier, the fuckheads at the bar making fun of Gallo for being fat and short.
Can you fix the TV?
Why are you asking me?
Because I want to see a TV program.
Go fix it yourself then.
If you can reach it!
There's a horny Don Juan voiced cactus with sunglasses looking for any female life form. That's actually an undercover spy wanting to learn golf.
I want the golf club.
After a shot, I got excited. See? I already prepared all the holes.
Can I convince you some other way?
Yes?
If only I could spend one romantic night with your sweet little cactus.
I'll go get the golf club.
These characters are fucking awesome, man, goddamn. And all of it is taped together and kept interesting by equally bizarre puzzles. A bit too bizarre, perhaps. I'd like to think I'm a rather creative thinker. Someone that's able to think outside of the box in any aspect of life.
Get the dick out of your own mouth!
Detective Gallo's solutions to the puzzles are at times so far removed from the box that I just sat there in silence like... Huh? For the most part though, the puzzles are fairly reasonable inventory object puzzles. To obtain the information you need, you will always be tasked with obtaining one or more items, consisting of one or more items tucked away behind characters wanting more items, scattered throughout the area. Pick up some gears and find coal to put in a random oven at the local dump to smoke a popsicle with. Use a sledgehammer to create a hole to bend a piece of metal into a crowbar, and use the brick to destroy the bar chandelier to catch a mouse to scare an elephant blocking the way. As illogical and stupid all of this might sound, during my playthrough these solutions came to me naturally, as the game slowly introduces you to absurd ways of problem solving, and then gradually ramps up the difficulty. They make good use of the environments too, as they don't just function to house characters, things to inspect or read about, and puzzle items you need, but are also utilized in the puzzles themselves, i.e. using Gallo's spilled drink to connect broken cables, or burning a candle using the local store's barbecue. Solving the puzzles takes creativity and going over every single outlandish option possible, but that eureka moment of using a tube pencil on a blank paper to reveal the final number of Gallo's save code is unmatched. But a bit too often for my liking, that eureka moment never came. Even after YouTubing my way out of things, shout out to a bad driver, I still thought shit was hella fucking stupid. There's puzzles with nonsensical solutions, like this sticky flypaper having to be used to pick up glass and clean a blender, to then combine said blender with a fork and a CD to make a lockpick that has a useless instruction manual. And even if you do know what to do, the game will simply refuse the solution because you're supposed to trigger certain NPC dialogue. I ran around for 35 minutes because I didn't click on this small ass photo to trigger baby talk dialogue to help him rob the vending machine, despite knowing the gun was the answer. 35 minutes of backtracking, the game's already full of regardless of getting stuck. Exacerbated by Gallo's fat ass taking forever to get places, even with the double click being used to fast travel between areas, and tilting because the game refuses logical solutions without any valid reason. Not to mention the cluttered inventory making it impossible to resort to guesswork, as there are way too many item combinations to even push your luck. Gallo's got his little notebook that looks cute as fuck, displaying his beloved cactus and a broad objective. But yeah, never helps solving anything, and neither does the goofy ass informant. Hell, he'd rather Cesar contact ASAP anyway.
Hello, you have reached the voicemail of the Backroom Updates. To know if your confidential informant is on the line, say your name.
Gallo.
Did you say Gallo?
Yes, Gallo.
Then your confidential informant is temporarily unavailable. Kindly leave a message after the beep. Beep.
For now, I can only think of insults.
The game in turn ceases all contact with the player before overstaying its welcome, and reaching a comedically satisfying conclusion, fitting for a comedically satisfying game. The premise is goofy, the characters bizarre and quirky, the puzzles creative, and Dr. Kamashiwa's brain training. And each and every single situation is full of humor. Even one of the characters being voiced by a financial backer, phoned in through Discord, made me laugh out loud. Intentional or not.
Use Wither and shoot, and I love only you.
The backtracking and getting stuck, while annoying, didn't occur often enough to truly bitch about more than I already have in this video. I still beat the thing in just under 6 hours. Besides, it made me catch the developers with their pants down, as I found one untranslated line in Italian because of it. Checkmate, fuckers. Detective Gallo might not be the best and most exciting game of all time, but it's a game that oozes character, far beyond any cookie-cutter 50-hour high-budget open-world AAA bullshit I purposely choose to ignore nowadays, without a single doubt. And thus, I prefer this over this.
We're stuck. We need help.
Son of a fuck! Don't worry. We will get your friends his drugs.
Any fucking day. As I would the other gems I have discussed today. Yeah, I call him that. Who's gonna stop me? Playing Portland Trailblazers in the sky parallel to these made for an unintended yet perfect comparison. One slow-paced, in-depth, aimed at longevity. The other's fast, straightforward, applying experimental ideas not meant to stand the test of time. Often longer and more in-depth games are valued over games with a shorter runtime. And if this video doesn't disprove just that, I don't know what will. A shorter runtime allows for much more gimmicky and absurd game design that can end before wearing out its welcome. And I think there's a lot more value in that than these type of games usually get credit for. A brief spoiler for a future video. I love The Legend of Skyhose. I love it a lot, in fact. But in no way, shape or form does its 50-hour runtime make me value it over the games discussed today. I fucking love these short adventures equally as much, even with their combined runtime not even reaching half of Birds in the Sky. I originally started playing shorter games to give myself some leeway to play and make videos about longer JRPGs and shit, only to find out how much these things really got to give. And yeah. That's how I eventually ended up playing a parody of a noir game about a cynical rooster detective, a pest-altering, time-rewinding savior of the future and the underworld, and the biggest, vibiest, wildest drug trip of a game. That's easily my favorite game I got my hands on in 2022.